Woo! Awesome. Thank you, guys. For those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Gary Brecka. I'm a human biologist, a biohacker, and a researcher. As soon as I start to talk about what I used to do, for some reason people gravitate and get a lot more interested in my previous career than what I do now, so I'll just get that out of the way real quick. For 22 years, I was a mortality researcher for the insurance industry, which meant if we got 5 years of medical records on you and 5 years of demographic data, we could tell the insurance company how long you had to live to the month. And this is some of the most accurate research in the world because the database that insurance companies have, which is the largest population database in the world, has 360 million lives. Contains information that no other database on the planet has. No wellness franchise has this. No clinical study ever published in modern medicine has this. No physician's office has this. The National Library of Medicine, the National Institute of Health don't have this information. They have the day, the date, the time, the location, and the cause of death for every person that ever took out a life insurance policy that they paid a death claim on. And 360 million times they traced that information back to the specifics that occurred in their life that shortened their health span, that shortened their lifespan, and led to some of the most common ailments that most people in this room are suffering from right now. And I'm not talking about pathology and disease, I'm talking about things that we don't take for granted, things like clean, clear, waking energy, healthy cognitive function, a poor response to exercise, the depth of our delta wave of sleep, our water retention, our hormone balance, our waking energy. These things that we have accepted as society and humanity as a natural consequence of aging. By the end of my talk today, I'm going to talk about the value that we're going to bring to this room, but I believe that most of the people that are sitting in this room right now are walking around at about 55 or 60% of your true state of normal. And if the database that I had access to for 22 years could see the light of day, it would permanently change the face of humanity. Unfortunately, that database never will. You see, the insurance companies are the polar opposite of Google and Facebook. They collect voluminous amounts of information, but they don't share that information back with anyone. If they did, it would upend modern medicine and healthcare in a way that would be so profound that it would take our medical system back about 45 years. So during this time that I was a mortality researcher, which it really sounds gruesome, it kind of is. But during this time that I was a mortality researcher, one of the major issues was that I was allowed to see your medical records, all of your demographic data. I was allowed to see your genetic data, but I was not allowed to have any contact with the patient or any contact with the treating physician. So even if I saw life-threatening drug interactions, I couldn't warn the patient. So does anyone know, just really quick, does anyone know what the third leading cause of death is in the United States? What's your hand? Medical error. That's right. So the leading cause of death is cardiovascular disease, the second is cancer, but the third leading cause of death in this country is modern medicine. It's astounding when you think about that. If you want to look up the clinical study, it was done by Harvard in 2016. It was repeated by Johns Hopkins in April 2019, and that study got worse. So they published the Harvard study and retired the Johns Hopkins study. I mean, if you translated that to any other industry, it would be laughable, right? I mean, if how many of you guys are in karate and martial arts? If you owned a karate studio with you, the third leading cause of people getting their ass kicked. Probably would come to Mike Joe's, karate studio. We're the third leading cause of people getting their ass whipped on the playground. Bring your kids, right? If you sold security systems, you were the third leading cause of home invasion, how well do you think your business would be doing? But this is where we go for information on optimal health. So as this career transcended, I began to realize that I was brainwashed, that it wasn't just data, that there was human beings on the other side of these spreadsheets. And I remember a very specific case. There was a woman that I was doing a life expectancy review on. She lived in the Midwest. She was getting ready to go to her winter home in Miami. And she had a cardiologist in the Midwest, a cardiologist in Miami, and I saw that the cardiologist in Miami had written a contraindicated script. So I knew as soon as she left her home here, she was going to move. She was going to land in Miami. She was going to go to the pharmacy, pick up that script, and she was going to immediately have a thrombolytic event, a stroke, or an embolism. So I walked into my human resource director's office. I'll never forget this woman as long as I live. I only hate one person on this planet. And her name is Nancy Honeycutt. If you want to stalk her on Facebook, she's a witch. I'll give her phone number out at the end of this call, right? I know we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to forgive and forget, but I have hated her from the day I started working there, and I hate her more today. Because I walked in her office and I said, Nancy, I'm calling this woman. This is the one. And I'll never forget, she said, Gary, if you call that woman, we will not only fire you, we will prosecute you. We'll put you in prison. We've done it before, and we'll do it again. So you need to go back to your desk, you need to get me my report, and stop coming into my office on your moral high horse.